Good morning.
Good
In
morning, ma'am.
yesterday's class, we discussed about this collector to base feedback bias. The collector to base feedback bias is another biasing technique which helps us to bias the transistor efficiently. And I say it helps in biasing efficiently for the simple reason that here also we could prove that the Q point would remain fixed or stable in spite of variations in temperature, variation in the transistor or replacement of one with the other, so on. And in this collector to base bias circuit, we saw we'll be connecting one resistor between the collector and base terminals. Mute yourself. Harish, mute yourself. Okay, so we saw that we'll be connecting one resistor RB between the collector and base, and this resistor will help us to provide the feedback between collector to base. And again, this also will be negative feedback. Please remember one point. You would have noticed even in the previous circuit, which we called as the classical discrete circuit bias, voltage divider bias, or universal bias, or self bias, all names for the same circuit. Even in that circuit, we could get efficient maintenance of the Q point to be stable only because we could provide negative feedback through that emitter resistance Re. Only when there is negative feedback in the circuit, we could keep the Q point stable. And that's what is happening here also. In this circuit also, we are giving negative feedback. And what do you mean by negative feedback? When a portion of the output is brought back to the input, but out of phase with the input, or the portion of the output which is brought to the input will tend to reduce the actual input signal which existed before. So whatever was the input which was there before, because of this feedback arrangement, that input tends to reduce, and that is known as negative feedback. And naturally, when the input reduces, the output will also reduce, and the gain of the amplifier reduces. So we have so many different problems with negative feedback. But in spite of all that, negative feedback gives us one main advantage here, and that is to stabilize the Q point or stabilize the operating point. Okay. So please remember, a Q point of a given circuit, biasing circuit, would be stable only in such places wherever there is negative feedback. So here we are providing negative feedback through this resistor RB, which is connected from the output to input. So generally this collector terminal is the output terminal. So usually we measure output here, and the base terminal is the input. We'll be connecting the input signal between base and emitter, or base and ground. So generally this is the condition. Hence, there is negative feedback in this circuit. So we did the general analysis yesterday where we wrote the input loop equation, and after writing the input loop equation, we could write an expression for the emitter current IE, and we showed that this equation looks very similar to that of the expression for IE which we got in the previous circuit, the voltage divider bias. We could also get the expression for IB by considering IE as 1 plus beta, and we wrote that expression. The second step in the analysis is to find the collector current from the base current, IC as beta times IB. And the third step is to apply KVL, Kirchhoff's voltage law, to the output loop. And once we applied KVL to the output loop, we could get this expression for VCE. The collector emitter voltage was given as VCC minus IERC. Then we did the stability analysis to show that if temperature or beta increased, which would have caused IC and IE to increase, the circuit behaves in such a way that the drop across the collector resistance would increase, which would cause in turn the drop across the base emitter junction to decrease and hence the base current to reduce, which in other words will tend to reduce the collector current. IC is beta times IB, we know. So if IB can reduce, IC will surely reduce. So whatever reason there was an increase in IC, that will be tried to be brought back to its normal value because of the behavior of this circuit, because of the negative feedback which is there in this circuit. Hence, the Q point will remain stable, and that's the importance of our design. So we want the Q point to remain fixed or stable, and we are able to do that in this circuit. Is that clear? So all this we discussed in the last class. Let's take one simple design problem here. You just say, please write down the problem. Design the collector to base feedback bias circuit to obtain. I hope you understand the short forms. If you have any doubts, you please ask. So design the collector to base feedback bias circuit to obtain emitter current of 1 milliampere and ensure plus or minus 2 volts signal swing, plus or minus 2 volts signal swing at the collector. Also, it is given that VCC is 10 volts and beta is 100. So you are supposed to design the collector to base feedback bias circuit to obtain an emitter current of 1 milliampere. So given IE is 1 milliampere and VCC is 10 volts, beta is 100. Also, the signal swing at the collector. What do you mean by signal swing? Can somebody tell me what is the meaning of signal swing at the collector? Remember, we would have the load line, we would have the operating point. This is your collector emitter voltage and this is your collector current. IC versus VCE characteristics we would have here. We would have characteristic curves. I am not showing those curves for different values of IB. IB1, IB2, IB3, so on. And when we talk about the collector signal swing, it means the voltage. Let me draw the circuit here itself. So this is the collector resistor connected to VCC, and we have one resistor connected from collector to base, right? And as usual, we have the base current flowing here, base emitter voltage here, collector emitter voltage here, collector current going into the collector, and the current through this RC would be IB plus IC, which is nothing but IE. We know IB will branch out through this base resistor RB. IC branches out into the collector. So the current here should be IB plus IC, which is IE. All this we have written. So what do you mean by the signal swing at the collector? Signal swing at the collector means the voltage between the collector and ground. In this case, whatever will be the, when I talk of signal swing, we are generally talking of an AC signal. So what would be the max and min values of the swing? So the signal swing at the collector talks about the maximum and minimum values or the peak to peak voltage that can be possible at the collector terminal. Here, when I say collector terminal, the other reference is automatically the ground, which is nothing but VCE. You can see in this case, VCE and VC are equal. Yes or no? Because the emitter is connected to ground. Whether I measure voltage between collector and ground or whether I measure voltage between collector and emitter, it's the same. VCE and VC are equal. And he has given us, so when I draw this load line analysis, we'll be talking of this signal VC or VCE like this. It would give me, we showed this when we did the load line analysis. So this peak to peak voltage, he says, is how much? Plus or minus 2 volts. So totally this is 4 volts. This will be plus 2 volts and this will be minus 2 volts. So if this is assumed as the 0 point, right? So usually what we do, we would connect the input signal here. We would give the input signal here and correspondingly we would map it on the load line and accordingly we will try to find the output signal. Please understand this. So depending on the value of input signal, the output signal swing should be between plus or minus 2 volts. And one thing you should remember, this can't go till 0. There is a small gap here till which it will start conducting. What is that gap? What is this point? How much will this voltage be? It is the saturation voltage of the collector emitter junction. Whenever the transistor goes to saturation, I told you, the current through the transistor can vary from minimum to maximum. So in the characteristic curves, the current will vary. It can go from here to here, here to here, whatever. Current can vary from minimum to maximum, but voltage across the transistor in this region will be very small. This voltage we call as the saturation voltage drop across a conducting transistor or a transistor that is on. And how much is that voltage I told you? It will be somewhere around 0.2 to 0.3 volts. Remember, this voltage across a transistor that is conducting or a switched on transistor will be somewhere between 0.2 to 0.3. So the minimum level of the signal for this device to conduct, for this transistor to conduct, the minimum level of collector emitter voltage will be VCE SAT, which I'll consider as 0.3 volts. So from 0.3 you measure 2 volts. So this will be around 2.3. This point will be at 2.3 volts, right? We start off with 0.3. This is the 0 point. See, this is 0. From here to here it is 0.3. And again, from here to the center, it is 2 volts. So 2 plus point, somewhere the operating point or the center point, the center line will be here. Is that clear? So you will get this total distance from 0 to here as approximately 2.3 volts. And what does that indicate? Which point is that? Why am I finding this value to the center point? Please answer. What point is this? it is the Q point. What are the coordinates of the Q point?
VCE and IC.
Exactly. VCE and IC are the coordinates of the Q point, the operating levels of VCE and IC. So when I'm finding this point here, I am finding VCEQ. Is that clear? So when you try to find the distance from 0 to the center here, okay, you are trying to find VCEQ. So this represents VCE SAT. Please remember, this VCE SAT is the starting VCE for conduction. So conduction of a transistor starts only at this particular VCE. Below this, the transistor collector base junction will not be reverse biased. So we need the collector base junction to be reverse biased and base emitter to be forward biased. This only when VCE is 0.3 or so, 0.2, 0.3, then the two conditions are satisfied. VBE forward bias, VCB reverse biased, and this is the minimum voltage to estimate for a transistor to conduct. And 2 volts is given as the needed signal swing from one end to the center. So I'll consider that plus 2. So with this, you are able to find what should be the operating collector emitter voltage level, which we should fix at 2.3 volts in this circuit. So just see what all is given. You are given the value of emitter current. You are given the DC supply voltage. You are given the beta value. You are also able to find the operating level of collector emitter voltage in this circuit. So all you have to do is find the values of the two resistors RB and RC. How would we do it? So given IC is 1 milliampere, VCEQ. So not IC, IE. Anyway, IC and IE can be considered almost the same. VCEQ 2.3 volts, VCC 10 volts, beta 100. Fine, you are supposed to now find RB and RC. How would we do it? First thing, we can write KVL equation of the output loop. So let's consider the output loop. RC, VCC, and emitter is grounded. So this is our output loop. I'm not worried of what is happening here. So what are the different things included here? And the current through this, please remember, it's not IC, it is IE. We saw here the current through the resistor RC is IE, IB plus IC, because it will break into two parts. Can you tell me the equation? Apply KVL to output loop. Why am I taking the output loop first? Because there are two knowns and only one unknown. You'll see here, once you write the equation, minus VCC, moving from negative to positive is negative, minus VCC. The drop across this resistor is in this direction. So plus IERC, the current through this resistor is IE, and again drop across collector to emitter junction is like this, plus VCE is equal to 0. So as you can observe in this equation, VCC is known, IE is known, VCE is known. Only unknown is RC. So try to find the value of RC. Anybody? You just isolate RC from this and try to find 10 minus 2.3. divided by 1 milli. You don't even need a calculator for this. Is it 7.7? Yes or no? Is it right? You can clearly see this is
Yes.
VCEQ we have determined. The only tricky part of this question is finding this VCEQ because he has mentioned the signal swing at the collector. When we say signal swing, you should expect maximum signal swing. So the AC signal to be varying between minimum and maximum, and the minimum value will be defined from 0 to VCE SAT or 0.3, and from there to the center is your minimum level of signal swing. Okay, so only this part is tricky, otherwise the rest is fine. Now we have found RC. How do I find RB? To find RB, you consider, I'll write it in the same circuit. Let me include the resistor RB with current IB flowing. And now let's consider what? KVL equation of the input loop. Apply KVL to input loop. What would you get? Actually, we can do it a little more easily also. What is the voltage from here to ground? What would be the value of voltage from here to ground? Yes,
VCE.
it is VCEQ, or this 2.3 volts. We have already found the voltage from collector to ground as 2.3 volts. I can apply the loop equation only from here to here. I need not write the complete loop. So if I consider input loop, since I know the voltage from the collector to ground, I'll consider only that part also. See here, you just consider this part. Even that is sufficient. So can you tell me the equation? This 2.3 volts will have this end negative. So it will be minus 2.3 volts from here to here. And IB flows from this end to this end. So plus IBRB. And what's the other voltage here? The other voltage here is
VBE.
VBE. So should I take plus or minus? Plus VBE is 0. Positive, base is positive with respect to emitter because it's NPN transistor. I hope you are following this. Since I know this voltage, I can directly consider this voltage and I can equate it to the sum of the same voltage levels on the other side. So voltage from collector to ground on the right side is 2.3. Similarly, that should be equal to the voltage from collector to ground on the left side, which is IBRB plus VBE. As simple as that. I hope you have followed. If you feel that is difficult, you can write the complete input loop equation, which will start with minus VCC plus IERC plus IBRB plus VBE is equal to 0, like what we wrote first. Both are right. Either way, you should get the same answer. Anyway, let's try to simplify this. So IB is unknown, RB is also unknown. What should I do? IBRB is equal to plus 2.3 minus VBE, which is 2.3. VBE is known. We always assume a silicon transistor. Please remember, you will always assume silicon transistor with VBE 0.7 volts. Okay. So whenever VBE is not given, most of the times it won't be mentioned. Just consider it to be a silicon transistor and assume VBE as 0.7. So we know this. We are supposed to design the circuit or find the value of RB. How can I relate IB to IE? What's the relation? You should be familiar now. It should be on the tips of your fingers.
IB equal to IE by 1 plus beta.
Yes. IB, substitute that. That's all. So RB is 2.3 minus 0.7. I think it will be how much? 1.6. So 1.6. Yeah. Divided by 1 milliampere by 101. What is this value? Around 160 something we'll get. This is just 100 or 101. It won't 161 or 162K you may get, I think. Anybody? Around 162 I am getting. Is it right? Are you done or not? Yeah. So there are only two resistors in this circuit.
161.6.
Okay, approximately, yeah, even I got that. 161.6K, something like that. 162 we can say, because resistors we don't have decimal values and all. Anyway, so our job is to design for the values of RB and RC, the two unknown resistors. Whenever he says design a circuit, you have to find the resistors in the circuit using the given values, like the Q point is given, IE is given, VCC is given, beta is given, and Q point is given here indirectly because they have specified the collector swing. So using that, you will find what should be the center point or VCEQ. Okay, this need not be the exact center. Though in this diagram, I have shown it as center. Ideally speaking, if I try to draw the graph correctly, how would it look? See, if you actually draw this graph correctly, this load line will intersect when VCE is equal to VCC, this point. And this point is IC is equal to VCC by RC. We know these 2 points in a DC load line, right? It will be approximately so much. So if this is 10 volts, we are getting the Q point somewhere here itself, nearer here. It is only at 2.3 volts, not in the center. You can easily see the Q point won't be in the center of the load line. It will be somewhere here. And the saturation level, this point is our VCE sat. So, which is, this is around 0.3 volts. And from here to here, it is 2 volts. From here to here, another 2 volts. So, the input signal will be applied here and we'll get the output signal between these limits. This is the signal swing. When I say signal swing, this is how it means. Okay. So these are the limits for the input signal and the corresponding limits for the output signal is this. So we have found the Q point, the operating value of collector emitter voltage is not exactly the center of the load line, but it is closer to saturation. You can observe, since this collector emitter voltage is lesser, if it was half, it should have been 5 volts, but here it is just 2.3 volts. Is that clear? So it is more closer to saturation than the center. Anyway, this is only for your knowledge. I hope you have understood this. Any doubts with this? No doubts? You should speak up. If you don't have doubts, tell no. At least message.
No, no, ma'am.
Okay. So with this, we complete the two important biasing circuits which we had to study as part of our syllabus. But please remember, these are not the only two. We have also studied fixed bias also. So three we have studied: fixed bias, the classical discrete circuit bias, also known as voltage divider bias, and the the collector to base feedback bias. Okay. But other than this also, there are many other types of biasing circuits which is not included in our syllabus. For ICs, we have to bias differently. For the switches, switching operation, the biasing should be different. So all these cases we are not considering here. Now, with the knowledge of biasing of transistors, so we have connected external DC voltages through resistors to a transistor to make the transistor have some zero signal collector current and zero signal collector emitter voltage. Biasing of a transistor means to make the transistor to conduct before applying any AC signal. Okay, so the transistor should be switched on. It should have started conducting, or the movement of charge carriers should be there by having some value of collector current and collector emitter voltage. Only when the transistor is in that state, it could be used as an amplifier. If not, we couldn't use the transistor as an amplifier. So biasing ensures the transistor to be conducting and to have sufficient collector current and voltage across it, so that we could use it to amplify small signal AC input voltages or currents. So when we have to use the transistor for amplification, we will always talk about uh, the BJT in terms of equivalent electrical models. So we will be replacing the BJT or the transistor with an equivalent model whenever we have to analyze the behavior of a transistor amplifier. So whenever you have to make the transistor work like an amplifier, you will bias it first. And to analyze the behavior of amplifier, to know what is the gain given by that amplifier, voltage gain, current gain, to know what is the resistance offered by the amplifier on the input side, output side. So if we have to analyze all these parameters, it won't be possible for us to do it using the BJT as it is. We have to replace the BJT with a electrical equivalent circuit, so that we can use all our electrical analysis techniques like KVL, KCL, voltage divider, current divider, so on. We should be able to apply simple electrical analysis techniques on the BJT. And if I retain the BJT as it is, a simple device, I'll not know what would be the value of the gain provided by it and why it would give so much gain. I won't be able to design the amplifier. Say I want to design a BJT amplifier to give you a gain of 100. You won't be able to design here if you don't know what should I change to get that gain. If I have to do that, I should get an equivalent electrical representation for the transistor, which is called its electrical equivalent model. And when we consider the electrical equivalent model, actually, there are two different types of models. Electrical equivalent model can be written for low frequency and high frequencies, because the behavior of the transistor changes with respect to frequency. So I will have a different model at low frequency. I will have a different model at high frequency. What we are now going to write is the low frequency model. So we are going to see how to represent the transistor with its corresponding low frequency model and how to analyze it. So what is the equivalent of this BJT in terms of an electrical equivalent circuit or an electrical equivalent model? And the other thing which you should know is, what do you mean by small signal operation? Any idea? What is the meaning of small signal operation? We remember having the DC load line and fixing the Q point on this DC load line. If at all the AC signal which you consider, if at all this AC signal which we are going to consider will lie between plus or minus 10% of its Q point. Say the Q point has a fixed collector emitter voltage and a fixed collector current. Say I am going to fix this at 5 volts. The input signal which is given should vary between plus or minus 0.5 volts. The AC input signal which you are going to give should be as small as plus or minus 0.5 volts, whatever we are giving, peak to peak value. So only if this is the condition used, then we get almost linear region of operation of the transistor. I'll show you that characteristic curve of IC versus VDE, you will see. So we'll be working in the linear region, and this mode of operation is called small signal operation. So please understand this point. Small signal means the AC input signal which is given to the amplifier lies between plus or minus 10% of its Q point voltage and current. So you shouldn't give large input signals. You'll be giving very small input signals. If we give large input signals, so general all voltage amplifiers, voltage and current amplifiers come under this small signal category, small signal amplifiers. Large signal amplifiers also we will study later in module 3. Large signal amplifiers are those where the input signal is greater than plus or minus 10% of the Q point value. That is plus or minus 10% of VCEQ. Okay. And the best example for large signal amplifiers are power amplifiers. So we'll be studying power amplifiers, which are large signal amplifiers later on. When we study small signal amplifiers, you should remember the peak to peak input signal level, AC signal level is very small, okay, which is varying between plus or minus 10% of the Q point value. So I hope you understood what is a model, what is small signal operation. With these basics, we'll write the small signal model for a BJT. We will now be considering the small signal operation of the BJT, and we will try to replace the BJT in this circuit with its electrical equivalent model, and we are trying to derive that model. What would represent the behavior of the BJT exactly. Which electrical circuit can I use to model the behavior of the BJT? Okay. And for that, let's take a conceptual BJT amplifier. So this first circuit, what we have written is a simple conceptual BJT amplifier circuit. So why is this BJT amplifier circuit? First, we have considered the biasing forward bias base emitter voltage VBE, and in series with that, I have considered the small signal or AC voltage VBE. This can be a sine wave. I can have a sine wave supplied by a signal generator. So I told you the conventions the other day. I hope you remember it. What is the general conventions for representation? If I write both in small, this represents AC or small signal quantities, small signals. If you write both capital, this represents a purely DC value. This represents AC, pure AC or small signal values. If you represent both in capital, the given letter and its subscript are in capitals, it represents a purely DC value. And if the letter is small but the subscript is capital, it will represent sum of AC plus DC value. So when I add both AC and DC, we will represent with a small letter and subscript being capital. The same convention is used throughout the book. So please understand here, this is completely small, VBE. So it represents a purely AC signal, which can be a sine wave. It can be a purely AC signal or a sine wave signal generator. This is a completely capital value, so it is a DC voltage source which will forward bias the base emitter junction, and VCC is the source to reverse bias the collector base junction. This is also a DC source, and we have used only one resistor, the load resistor we are showing. Okay, so just the load resistor we have shown. I hope you understood this. Next, in the next circuit, what I am trying to do, I am separating out only the DC part. If I consider the AC signal to be non-existent, or we are doing only DC analysis. When we do only DC analysis of an amplifier, so basically this is an amplifier circuit. The left hand side is an amplifier circuit. It will have AC as well as DC. Remember, an amplifier will have both AC and DC input signals. When I supposed to do the DC analysis, when I'm supposed to do just the DC analysis of the amplifier, we try to short circuit the AC signal. So this small VBE which is there is shorted. So this small VBE, the AC signal will be replaced with short circuits. And if we have capacitors, even they will be replaced with open circuits. Anyway, we'll come to that a little later. So here we have considered as AC voltage source. I'll replace it with a short circuit so that I'll be considering only the presence of the DC voltages and DC currents in the circuit. That's when I'm going to do the DC analysis, also known as the biasing analysis. That's what we did till now. Till now, what we did was the DC analysis or the biasing analysis. Now, what we will do is we will write the electrical equivalent model for the transistor first. And once we are able to do that, we will be able to do the AC analysis of the amplifier. We'll be able to design for a given gain, input resistance, and so on. And all that we can do by using simple electrical theorems like your Thevenin's, your Norton's, voltage divider, KVL, KCL, so on. So we could do that if we replace this BJT with a model. Is this clear? So the first one is an amplifier. It has both AC and DC. We have given forward bias to the base emitter junction through this VBE, reverse bias to the collector base junction through this VCC. Okay. And you can see all the values shown here. Small v, capital CE, which represents what? Addition of AC plus DC. Please remember this. When I write something in small v capital BE means sum of small VBE. So what does this mean? This means small VBE added to capital VBE. Please understand this. So AC plus DC is represented here. Everywhere we have small I capital B, which means IB plus IB. I hope this concept is clear. Okay. So it is the total signals which we have represented in this circuit. Whereas in this circuit, it is only the DC signal, all capitals. Okay. Now, before going to the derivation of the model, we have to remember some important relations, recollect some important relations in a BJT. What are they? Some important relations in a BJT. First one is the relationship between the collector current and the base emitter voltage in a BJT. You remember when I explained to you the working of BJT as the prerequisite, I had given you this equation because remember the base emitter junction in a transistor is similar to a forward bias diode. The base emitter region in a transistor will behave similar to that of a forward bias diode, and from Shockley's equation, diode current equation, we know that the forward current in a diode is equal to its reverse saturation current into e to the power of the forward voltage drop across the diode divided by what? Neta Vt, where I told you this Vf represents the voltage drop across the conducting diode. If represents the current flowing through the conducting diode. Neta represents a constant which is based on the semiconductor material used. If we use silicon, the value of neta is 1. Whenever I use silicon material, neta value is 1. Vt stands for volt equivalent of temperature. All this I had told you. So the same equation is written for this. Sorry. Okay, the same equation is written for the transistor. The current, collector current or the current flowing in a transistor, the output current IC depends on the forward bias base emitter voltage VBE and the reverse saturation current IS. So please remember, this represents the collector current, this represents the reverse saturation current, and VBE represents the voltage drop between base emitter junction. Ideally speaking, if you try to draw a characteristic curve showing this relation, this is IC, this is VBE, you will get this kind of characteristic curve. IC depends on VBE as an exponential, a rising exponential. And I'm not considering neta here because neta value is 1. We are always assuming silicon transistor. Whenever you assume silicon transistor, neta value will be 1. Is that clear? So this kind of characteristic is represented by this equation. So please understand a very important equation which we will use very often in BJTs. Collector current is equal to reverse saturation current IS into E power VBE by VT. And do you remember what is the volt equivalent of temperature? I told you the other day all these things when we discussed the basics.
26.
Yes, it is defined as T degree Kelvin by 11,600. This will come to approximately 26 millivolts. Please keep it in mind. VT will be approximately 26 millivolts. Then the second relation we know. The second relation gives us what? Relationship between emitter current and collector current. In a given transistor, we know that what? IC is alpha times IE, where alpha represents the current gain factor in a common base configuration, and alpha value will always be slightly less than or equal to 1. I told you this also. You get alpha IE plus ICO, but we are not considering this ICO, the reverse saturation current I'm neglecting. I'm just considering IC as alpha IE, or in other words, IE will be IC by alpha. Okay. And alpha value will be 0.95 to 0.99 or 1. It can be somewhere in that range. We know this relation. You have studied this also last time. And what is the relation between IB and IC? The third relation is here. IB is equal to IC by beta, or the actual relation tells IC is beta IB plus 1 plus beta times the reverse saturation current. If we consider this to be very small, negligibly equal to 0, I'll directly assume IC as beta IB, and that's what we have done here. IB will be IC by beta. And then the fourth relationship is, all these are some important relationship. All we are considering are DC values, because the DC analysis we have already done. You see all the parameters which we have written have both the letter and its subscript in capitals. So they are DC values. VCE will be equal to VCC minus ICRC by writing this output loop equation. We know if I write output loop equation, I'll get minus VCC plus ICRC in this, because this is the direction of the drop, plus VCE is equal to 0. Or if you want to isolate VCE, you'll get VCE is equal to VCC minus ICRC. Is this clear? So we have 4 important relationships when we did the DC analysis of a transistor amplifier, which you should remember. And we can use those relations when we try to derive the AC equivalent low frequency model for the BJT. So in the next class, we'll derive the AC equivalent small signal model of the transistor, and then we will consider all these 4 important relationships from the DC analysis.